Welcome back into that Sean podcast. I am the Big Ush, still repping, but we'll get to that. Over here is the Cat Daddy. Cat Daddy, what's on your mind?
We just got finished with the Super Wild Card Weekend. So yes, the playoffs are here, and we know two things. First, we know that the window to win a Super Bowl or even get to a Super Bowl is incredibly small. And the second thing we know is that I'm feeling some sort of way about these playoffs because we know that the playoffs are horribly flawed. And what I mean is done with this 7th seed experiment.
Yeah,
because
we should be.
Those 2 versus 7 seed games are looking horrible. I need us to return to the 6-team formats with 2 teams getting a bye.
Agreed.
And we don't need nearly half of the teams in the NFL to get to the postseason. This isn't an honorable mention. It's not a field day where everybody gets a ribbon for participation. I don't like playoff Monday night.
You know why they started this,
I
right?
didn't find that exciting at all.
You know why they started this nonsense, right?
I'm going to guess money and revenue.
Well, no, there's that. But they did it under the guise because there's teams like the Bears who are going 10-6 and not making the playoffs. And they're like, oh, we can't have a 10-6 team not make the playoffs. Oh my God, what's
You
going
absolutely
on here?
can. Yes, you can. Yes. The seventh. There was the 2 seasons that we've done the seventh seed. 3 of the 4 games have been horrible blowouts. The close one, I think, was last year's Buffalo versus the Colts. But I think even in that game, Buffalo had a pretty convincing lead.
Tampa and Washington.
Was that a 2? No, it wasn't a 2-7. Because I think Tampa got in as
no.
a 5 or a 6.
Well, I'm just saying Washington was a bad team that played a good team and came pretty close. But I get what you're saying.
I know, but these 7 seeds just aren't getting it done. They're not.
No.
They call it the Super Wild Card Weekend.
I wish the Cowboys would have played Philly.
Every team in the playoffs wished they played the state of Pennsylvania one way or another. Doesn't matter which conference you're in. They want to play the team from Pennsylvania because both those 7 seeds, Philly, Pittsburgh, they didn't show up. They showed that they didn't. I don't want to say didn't deserve to make the playoffs, but they were out of place. They were outplayed. They were outcoached.
I get what you're saying.
Man. Those are my feelings about the playoffs.
Jumping into coaches, where we're going to touch on some of these coaching carousel aspects here. And this is a big mess, ain't it? Like, every team seems to be going after every coach. Is it like... Normally, teams narrow in on a grouping of, coaches. And you want to know one thing that's odd to me still about this whole thing?
What's that?
Eric Bieniemy. Has he even been requested?
Oh, man, it's so tough because his team is still alive in the playoffs, and that makes me think that at some level, the NFL needs to change this. You know how with free agency, you have that legal tampering period that begins, and then a few days afterwards, you can go ahead and sign free agents? I think the NFL needs to do something similar when it comes to these head coaching hires. Make that tampering period after the season. That way
I don't think that's it, though.
Everybody the opportunity.
I don't think that's it, though, because you got Leslie Frazier. He's still in the playoffs. Brian Daboll, he's still in the playoffs. Kellen Moore and Dan Quinn, when they were requested or even interviewing, they were still in the playoffs. You got people reaching out for Raheem Morris, Brian Leftwich, Todd Bowles, all still in the playoffs. What is it about Eric Bieniemy that people don't like?
Maybe Kansas City's up and down play, maybe the inconsistency they've had on offense this year as opposed to previous years.
Quite possibly.
Maybe that could be it. I know Denver has requested an interview with Bieniemy.
Okay, so that's I haven't heard that one, but I see all these other guys popping up, and it just makes me wonder, like, what's going on with Bieniemy, and why isn't, like, every year everybody wants to talk about how this guy's like this big time head coaching prospect, but no one ever really goes for him.
The Miami Dolphins are interviewing just about everybody under the sun. I mean, they called me earlier,
Except
but I
for
had to
Bieniemy.
decline. And I had to say, you know what? I'm in Colorado. If the Denver Broncos call me, I'll certainly field that one, but I just can't do Miami. So, yeah, the Broncos are going after everybody.
Just letting everybody know, starting next week, me and Sean are going to start doing a little tracker for each team, and we're going to keep it in threes like we do, not fives. Our top 3 candidates for each team looking for a coach.
I like this. You know what I'm surprised about? I'm surprised that no team has hired a head coach yet.
That's weird too.
It seems like in previous seasons, at least that first domino has fallen by the time the wild card round is over. And you figure teams had an extra 2 weeks. A couple teams did, like Jacksonville,
I think it's coming, though.
Raiders.
I think Dan Quinn's gonna be getting scooped up fairly shortly here. I do think Dan Quinn's gonna be one of them that's gonna be taken. Maybe Matt Eberflus also, he's out there. But I think a lot of these teams, like, for example, not to spoil next week, but I think Leslie Frazier might be the top guy for Chicago. Also, there's the fact that Brian Flores is in high demand. And I think he's got about 3 teams, Chicago being one of them, looking at him. You also got the Giants. You got Houston, who's probably salivating, saying we need him. Plus you got certain teams that just got bumped out of the playoffs, like Gerard Mayo is being tapped. You got teams still in the playoffs with San Francisco. Now D'Amico Ryans is also getting interest. And I think, you know something? It makes me feel kind of old, but it also makes me feel kind of good to see these players that I remember playing getting these head coaching opportunities.
Yeah, like Hines Ward with the Houston Texans.
Exactly. He's not going to get that job, but,
Yep. And actually, since we last recorded, David Cully of the Houston Texans was fired or relieved of duties, however they want to politely phrase that he's no longer with the franchise. Sounds like there were offensive philosophical differences, but
no, you know what it was.
It was,
you know what it was.
He got them through the season. That's what he signed on for.
You know exactly what it was. They were going to head into next season with David Cully as their head coach, but then Miami, for philosophical differences, decided to let go of Brian Flores, and Houston was like, what?
Yeah, New York is rumored to be strong after a coach like Flores, and it's coincidental that the Giants ended up firing or relieving duties of Joe Judge. Precisely.
It's just interesting. Both those coaches got boop right around that time. Now, I hope he goes to Houston. I don't want him in New York at all.
You don't want that team doing any good. Don't worry.
No.
The franchise is dysfunctional, so I don't think they would actually get Flores.
I think he would do wonders for Houston, actually. I'd pull them out of the gutter.
That's what they need. And they got through probably the roughest season, and now it's just piecing it all back together. Fortunately, they have a GM in place. Maybe unfortunate, depending on how much you like Nick Caserio. But there's some other teams out there who still have a GM position that needs to be filled, and one of the teams looking for a head coach has just recently fired their GM, Mike Mayock, formerly of the Las Vegas Raiders.
See, I don't think they're looking for a head coach. My guy is still in the building.
Oh, I think think the firing of Mike Mayock is not good for Rich Pistachio.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes there.
We'll
Also,
see. Are you
we have
surprised
some-
by Mike Mayock, though?
No, I'm not.
No.
not.
John Gruden was wielding.
You know he's got a job
all the power.
waiting for him.
Oh,
You know
of
he's got a
course.
job waiting for him.
Of course, he'll be back on TV in no time.
Well, yes, in no time, considering the combine's coming up, and that was his, domain.
I
As
know.
much as I like Charles Davis, that was Mike Mayock's stomping ground right there.
And that's why John Gruden hired Mike Mayock as his GM. It wasn't because he wanted him to make the personnel decisions, because that was all Gruden. He just wanted a scout or a talent evaluator with a
He
really
wanted to
fancy
be
job
a Will
title.
McClay. He wanted to be and if people don't know who Will McClay is the guy who evaluates talent for the Dallas Cowboys. He's basically the GM, but Jerry makes the decisions. But people in Dallas know the truth. Anyways, we also have some other segments coming up when we get to our free agency segment. Because just to give you a little preview, we're going to be doing things of like new faces and new places that we think could either revitalize their careers or help a team. And one of those names that we're going to probably have a nice spirited debate on, where he goes and if he can help out a franchise, is Mitchell Trubisky. Because after the season that the Bears just had, there's going to be a lot of teams probably thinking that, something, maybe Mitchell Trubisky's actual issues had to do more with Matt Nagy than Mitchell Trubisky.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point, because last year we're doing the free agent series where we're, predicting these free agents could go. And I remember saying that Mitchell Trubisky can go to his couch. And
you're not saying that no more, are you?
I am not, because I didn't have a complete picture or even a good picture of what he was experiencing in Chicago. Now that Matt Nagy is fired, the reports are coming out about how he really acted as a head coach and what his interactions with the players look like and how good or bad of an actual coach he was. And looking back on it,
one of us saw it.
You can
One of
put
us saw
a
it.
majority of the blame on Matt Nagy for this, because it sounds
One of
like
us saw this though.
Mitch
I'm saying
Trubisky
right
was
now.
trying to make it work.
I'm saying right now, one of us saw this though with Nagy. One of us has been saying this for the last 2 years, that Matt Nagy's not the guy, that most of Mitchell Trubisky's issues had to do with Nagy. And
You did. That's all you. He's definitely not talking about me. That was all him.
you got on board pretty quick though into the season.
I mean, after he was gone, all the evidence was pretty damning. It's like, well, he doesn't really stand a chance of getting another head coaching position. Maybe. I'm going to put
You know what he
emphasis
makes
on
me
maybe
think of?
an offensive coordinator position.
You know what he makes me think of?
What's that?
A watered down Todd Haley. That's what he makes me think of. Guy who just should not be a head coach. Shouldn't be a coach, period. To be honest, that attitude.
Oh, along the lines of Adam Gase?
No, Adam Gase is different. Again, shouldn't be a coach, period. But he's a little bit different. I mean, there's something going on up there. All right, jumping into the games from the weekend. We're gonna start out with this Raiders-Bengals game. This game was better than I thought it was gonna be.
Yes.
But like I thought, the Bengals took this one 26-19. Excuse me, sorry. Joe Burrow had a really nice game. Jamar Chase had a really nice game. That's all I got for you.
The Bengals erased their 31-year playoff drought utility,
31 years.
and they took down the NFL's team of destiny, because at one point I thought, man, are these refs actually going to give the game to the Raiders? It was a thrilling open to the wild card. One of only two good watches this weekend. Still, I don't know why they call it Super Wild Card when only a third of your games are good, but we keep watching for some reason.
They say it's super because there's an extra game, but not really.
Get rid of the 2 verse 7. Okay, moving on. I have an overdue receipt to cash. At least I don't think I've already cashed this one.
Okay.
So I got to come clean. I was wrong about Trey Hendrickson.
Yes, we both were.
I doubted his individual ability, and I thought a lot of his production last season with the Saints came from playing opposite of Cam Jordan, not getting the double teams, getting those easier matchups, if you will.
I think you were also wrong about the Bengals. Didn't you have the Bengals not doing as well this year?
Probably, but we can get to that later. But Trey Hendrickson is looking like one of the better free agent acquisitions of this whole offseason with how well he's played. Yes. So that is my receipt to cash. I was wrong on Trey Hendrickson. Yikes. In the Las Vegas-Cincinnati game, we saw that officiating is broken, not just bad.
We gonna get to that.
Officiating is
we gonna get to that. We gonna get to that.
All right,
so
I'll save all my officiating stuff.
We gonna get to that. Trust me. We gonna get. Yeah. Don't get me started. Don't get it going just yet.
I liked seeing Jesse Bates flying all over the field, pass breakups, getting big hits in there. That's the Jesse Bates that they needed to see all season, and he showed up at the right time. Who didn't show up was the Cincinnati right tackle Isaiah Prince, because Max Crosby just blew past him just about every single play.
Just good. No, Max Crosby's just good.
He was constantly winning. Burrow was able to counter and defend that pass rush by getting some quick passes off and trying to pull his best Houdini impersonation and escaping.
Yeah,
but yeah, Max Crosby looked good out there.
All right. Well, I think the Raiders do have a bright future. They do need to improve some areas. I think more so in their offensive line and receiving core. But I do think, and maybe in, defensive line. But hey, we're going to be talking about all of that. Moving on to the next game. New England Patriots went into Buffalo. And Josh Allen did his best Superman impersonation and just wrecked those fools. I mean, the whole Buffalo offense, could not be stopped. Apparently, this is the first perfect offensive performance ever in the NFL playoffs. Buffalo just could not be stopped.
The only thing that went wrong were the missed extra point attempts.
And I would be really, really worried if I was Kansas City. I know Kansas City had a really good game themselves, which we will get to. But this Buffalo team against a really good New England defense, New England couldn't touch them.
I think this is Josh Allen, and this is the Bills officially putting the AFC on notice. Doesn't matter what division you play in. But the Bills came out, and they scored at will.
Yep.
They had... But we're going to stop the last one for a moment. They scored touchdowns on their first 7 possessions. Not just scoring, as in getting touchdowns, getting extra points. No. They got touchdowns on their first 7 possessions. It's like somebody was playing a video game, and they were the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen came out. He said, you know what? It's clobbering time. Right? Yeah.
On easy.
Yeah, they need to change the difficulty setting. He was putting defenders on skates.
Here's the thing. New England, still a lot of promise there. That defense is still really good. No matter what you think of this performance, they'll reload. And hopefully Mac Jones gets better. I still think they need more on offense, especially an offensive weapon. But there's a lot to like in New England for the future. It's just right now, Buffalo had your number, people. Got any more for this one? Or you want to go on to the next one?
Yeah, I got a little bit more. For this game, everything was just going in Buffalo's way. It was going in their favor. That first touchdown that Josh Allen had thrown to Dawson Knox, Josh Allen said after the game that he was actually trying to throw the ball away. And then Dawson Knox just went up and made this incredible catch for it. They faced 7 third downs. They converted 6 of them. Their longest third down that they faced was a 3rd and 4. Their longest third down. 3rd and 4. They didn't give up any sacks, no field goals, no punts. Their defense was playing really solid. Granted, they were going against a rookie quarterback in the playoffs, a rookie quarterback who had more or less hit the wall. It wasn't as if Mac Jones had played a bad game in this one, but the Buffalo defense just made life miserable for him. And Micah Hyde made a fantastic interception in the first quarter to steal a touchdown away from the Patriots. He did his best Willie Mays over the shoulder. He was jumping between his teammates and the wide receiver. Who is a wide receiver on that one? Nelson Aguilar, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, man. I'm just thinking if Aguilar would have just maybe hit the brakes and jumped up to get the ball instead of waiting for it to come to him.
That's that type of receiver he is.
I know. And that played out well for Mike Hyde. I was surprised that a Bill Belichick-led team was not able to make adjustments as early as they could have.
True.
I was surprised it did go on so long. And there's a lot of criticism about the defensive coaching, the defensive staff on that team. So who knows where Bill Belichick goes with the defense moving forward. But this game was
he'll go somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that was embarrassing. That was a miserable game the Patriots played overall. And it was a clear sign that there's a changing of the guards in the AFC East for, 2 decades of dominance from the New England Patriots. Buffalo comes out and they just take out all of that aggression that had been built up over the last 2 decades. And they got to knock out a division rival in the playoffs. I'm sure that was a great feeling. It just added extra motivation to them. And I think this game should further strengthen the cases for Brian Daboll and Leslie Frazier to be head coaches in the very near future. Has to.
Next up, we got the Eagles traveling to Tampa to face the Buccaneers. And for the majority of this game, the Eagles were not good. Tampa was pretty good. And at one point, Tom Brady gets pulled from the game. I get the Eagles get 2 garbage touchdowns, but it wasn't going to do anything. I don't know. The story of this game isn't Tampa, even though I'm worried a little bit about Tampa because I think they should have beat the Eagles by more here. I'm worried on Philly because Tampa's defense was not doing anything special. It's just Jalen Hurts just could not do anything with his arm. I don't know if it's like fixing footwork or what, but he sailed a lot of passes. He did not look comfortable. It looked like the moment was too big for him. Now, Philly, I think, has no choice but to go forward with him as their quarterback because does anybody in this draft move the needle enough for you to get rid of Jalen Hurts? I don't know. How do you feel about this one, Sean?
I'm going to go through a couple of notes I have for the game, and then get my Jalen Hurts notes. So don't be fooled by the score of this game. This game was not as close as the score allows you to believe it was, because at one point, Tampa Bay was up 31-0, and then they took their foot off the gas, and that's what it was. They just didn't try as hard. Like, all right, well, let's just pack it up. Let's get out of here unscathed, limited injuries. Let's just get through this. Is it surprising, though? I'm going to say no, because Philadelphia was the number 7 seed coming into the playoffs.
Still.
During the season, Philadelphia had one win against a team with a winning record, and that was against a banged-up Saints team that was missing Alvin Kamara, that was missing both of their starting tackles in offense. Now, I'm not hating on the Eagles for making the playoffs because, as we've discussed before, you play the schedule that you're given. I'm just not surprised by this outcome. The Eagles flashed some potential this season, just not in this game. The Eagles could much until this game was out of hands. I do got to say that the Eagles' defense looked and played slightly better than I expected them to, and I think some of that is it's almost like the Tampa Bay offensive line started looking like a weak spot during this game because Tom Brady took 4 stacks on their downs. Those are drive-killing plays. Those are momentum shifters. It's just too bad you were down by so much and your offense couldn't do anything and no adjustments could be made. And that's what gets me to Jalen Hurts. He didn't look good at all in this game. Even when he wasn't being pressured, he was still missing throws badly. He was overthrowing his targets. He was throwing the ball off his back foot. He was throwing unbalanced when he didn't need to. He was afraid. He was scared. He was playing that way. Now, I have no doubt that the Eagles are going to carry forward with Jalen Hurts into next season as their starter. But what tolerance does Philadelphia have with him moving forward? He's shown he can make plays with his legs, which is great. But he gets paid as a quarterback. He plays as a quarterback. So in order for him to have a career as a quarterback, an NFL quarterback, he has to be able to pass the ball effectively on a consistent basis. And that's what we haven't had the chance to see. Now, can you blame some of this on the receiving talent that was available to him? Yes. Dallas Goedert's one of his more reliable targets and options. The box score looked good for him this weekend, but he had a horrible drop.
At the same time. Mm-hmm. At the same time, no. They played with these guys all year. I'm gonna be honest with you. I watched the game. These passes were sailing. There was times Dallas Goedert was the only one who could possibly catch some of these passes because they were way up high. Why was Devonta Smith only targeted? I don't even know how many times he was targeted, but it wasn't enough.
They waited till garbage time to get Devonta Smith involved because the Tampa defense had backed off.
I mean, Troy Aikman was even saying, look at the cushion he's getting.
Yeah,
on first down.
You're sending all these passes toward Quez Watkins and Jalen Reagor. If your wide receiver didn't have the last name of Smith on the back of his jersey, he wasn't having a good day. You're thinking all the other receivers were having drops. They were fumbling punts. It was just overall bad. So some of that can be assessed to the talent that surrounds Jalen Hurts. I do want to know more about why. I suppose we know why Nick Sirianni didn't run the ball more when it became a strength for them. Yeah, and I guess that's the funny thing. They relied on the running game in the second half of the year, and that's how they were being productive and how they were winning games.
They didn't make any adjustments in this game, though.
Yeah, and it's Hurts, it's the play calling. Let's transition.
We're going to go on to the next game, and I got some things to say. So the 49ers went into Dallas, beat the Dallas Cowboys 23-17, and the story of this game, not only is it penalties, which is on the head coach, even though some of these penalties were nonsense. I see like people like Duke Manyweather tweeting out about Trent Williams getting away with false starts and Randy Gregory getting called for offsides, even though it should be on Trent Williams. And then he got away with apparently he had gotten away with 3 of them in the first quarter. So there's that, whatever. Then there's the fact that Kellen Moore, probably this was his worst game I think I've seen calling plays. Like, everybody wants to put out there to say, or a lot of people want to put out there to say that Dak Prescott played poorly. Watch the game. Dak Prescott did not play poorly. It is hard to throw when their defensive line is talented in getting to your quarterback, and your quarterback has nowhere to pass the ball because your offensive coordinator is pushing routes into coverage. Instead of, like, I saw one route in particular where Amari Cooper did an in-breaking route, which if he would have done the out-breaking route, he would have been wide open. But the route called for him to come in, which was into the coverage, into the linebacker. The corner was playing inside leverage instead of him going outside away from the coverage. And this was the problem all game long. Why didn't they run the ball more when they were averaging 4.5 yards per carry? In one of their best drives, they ran the ball more than they passed. I mean, these are the things. Regardless of the refs, the one big thing at the end, and see, I don't even poo-poo on it. Everybody wants to go on Dak again. Oh, he should have known to get down earlier. Maybe the ref, because let's remember, there's another game where the Niners had a situation where a team had the ball spiked. Oh, it was the Green Bay Packers, who you have to play next week. And when Devontae Adams got down, the ref was right there, touched the ball, ran out of there. This play, Dak gets down, the ref is like 4 seconds behind him, then moves the ball, then gets out. Like, I mean, he wasted the whole time. So I'm going to say this. The Niners played fairly well. Deebo Samuel was really good. But I'm going to say this. The Niners will not beat Green Bay playing like this. The Cowboys called a terrible offensive game, did not get their playmakers, a la CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper in open positions. Zeke Elliott was not in great position to do anything. He dropped one outlet pass, and then there's another one at the end of the game. It was the drive right before the final drive where Dak tried to flip it out to him, and Zeke has no clue what the ball is. And so, like, you have an offensive output where everybody but the tight end and the quarterback are playing poorly. You have the offensive coordinator is not doing well. The head coach is calling weird stuff, like what happened after that fake punt. And Dallas still has a chance to win this game? Nah, Niners, you play this game like you did this week, and the Packers are going to blow you out of Green Bay. I'm just letting you know that, because the Cowboys probably should have blew you out of here if they had a competent coaching staff. So, Kellen Moore, if you get a job somewhere, good for you. I am happy about that. Dan Quinn, stay in the building.
Jerry Jones is not happy about Campbell with this Cowboys team, with the talent they've assembled. It's Super Bowl or bust. And this year, I think a lot of that blame gets put on the coaching staff. There was what I thought a lot of self-inflicted wounds in this game. And it starts with the undisciplined penalties, especially those ones on defense. The ones that drove me crazy were the defensive holding penalties on a San Francisco run play. Yes. How do you get called for holding on a run play? That shouldn't happen. Like, your job is to tackle someone. What are we doing holding on? So the penalties on defense were killer, because all it did was extend San Francisco's drive. It just gave them an extra 5 yards.
But even more, those delay of games that were because of head coaching decisions, the false starts. Like, you're at home.
Yeah.
You're at home.
How are you affected at home?
I'm just saying this. Mike McCarthy, you need to clean up the penalties. I get it. I say it a lot. The NFL targets the Cowboys, but you need to clean it up, or you're going to be out of here, because you cannot have another playoff game like this. Jerry will not. He will not go through this again.
I'm glad you mentioned that last part, because also as part of the self-inflicted wounds would be the offensive play calling, the offensive coaching that we saw in this game. It has to be questioned. Mike McCarthy and Kellen Moore. And heading into 2022, Mike McCarthy, for me, is going to be an early hot seat candidate
Yep,
because
I'm with you
he
there.
has to win. He has to advance in the playoffs. You can't get bounced in the wild card rounds.
But you agree this was not Dak Prescott's fault. People will sit there and want to blame. I get it. He's got the $40 million contract. I get it. But he's doing everything he can. And if a receiver's not open, what? You want him to throw a pick?
The fake punt they called was a good call. I like it. Leaving the punt team on the field, trying to force Francisco into calling a timeout, making them feel all discombobulated and frustrated and stressed. That was extremely poor strategy.
Stupid.
Waiting until there was 15 seconds left on the play clock to substitute your offensive players in, knowing that the defense is going to have an opportunity to sub in players themselves.
If they would have done it at 20 seconds, that would have made more sense.
And that's a trend that I have, is the time management. You call that 5 seconds earlier, you can get away with it. You playoff, you don't have that killer delay of game when you finally got a first down after fighting so hard to really get one and get momentum.
But you agree that situation at the end of the game, I don't think it would have changed the game personally. Maybe it does. Maybe Dak makes something spectacular happen. But that's on the ref. That is on the ref.
I looked at McCarthy, I looked at Kellen Moore. Now, there's 14 seconds left. You have no timeouts remaining. San Francisco is leaving the middle of the field wide open. They're guarding the sidelines. They're making sure you don't throw any passes over there. I am okay with calling a quarterback draw. What I'm not okay with is your coach telling Dak Prescott, or he should have told Dak Prescott, don't run too far forward. They're going to give you a lot of space. Don't take it all. Make sure we get the first down, which I think was only 2 yards at that point. Slide, and then let's get this ball.
I think they wanted to get in position to hit the end zone. Again, I actually had no problem where Dak was. The ump, or whoever touches the ball, needs to know the situation. He knew the one in the Green Bay, San Francisco knew the game plan because he was right there when Davante Adams put the ball down. This guy is 4 seconds behind Dak. Dak slid down with 9 seconds left on the clock. 9 seconds, Sean. You're telling me that they couldn't get up there to touch the ball? All he had to do was touch the ball. He had 9 seconds to get up there to touch the ball.
He did.
You've watched enough Aaron Rodgers to see a ref get that right.
You know, it reminds me of the conversation we were having about the Pittsburgh-Minnesota Monday night game weeks ago when Chase Claypool gets that first down and then he does that celebrating, and what is he not? He's not getting the ball to the ref because we know the ref has to touch the ball. They have to put the ball down.
Right. Dak
they have to do that.
Put it where the ref could just touch it and get the F out the way. And the ref just wasn't there. Just wasn't there. And that's fine. That's fine. We know the NFL refs can't get their crap together, and we know the Cowboys shouldn't have been in that position because this was the offensive play calling. There was nothing San Francisco was doing that was all that special. It wasn't like that Arizona game where they schemed against what the Cowboys were doing. The Dallas Cowboys are one team that I bang my head against the wall wondering, you have CeeDee Lamb, you have Amari Cooper. Why in the world is Cedric Wilson leading the team in receiving? Why is he? It's because we don't know how to scheme our players open. The Packers know how to do it. Davante Adams is always open because of pick plays, because of getting them on the move, because of having route combinations. Same thing the Chiefs do with Tyreek Hill. The Steelers have done it with their playmakers. You've seen the Cardinals do it with DeAndre Hopkins. To hell, the Rams do it with Cooper Kupp. Other teams know how. The Niners do it with Deebo Samuel. Other teams know how to do this. I'm saying it right now. Kellen Moore is just not as creative as people think. There's too much Jason Garrett influence. And what Jason Garrett's influence told you, we line up, we run what we run, and we win our battles. And that's what they're asking these receivers to do. You throw it to the guy who wins. Well, if they're trying to take your most talented guys away, that's how Cedric Wilson becomes the leading receiver, because he's one-on-one with their worst defender. No! Let's get CeeDee Lamb one-on-one with their worst defender, because that's what Green Bay does. They get Devontae Adams one-on-one with the other team's worst defender or with a linebacker, and he wins that every time. And that's but anyways, let's just say
Dallas play calling, it definitely needs to be looked at this offseason. Kellen Moore, if he goes to interviews, he's getting interviews for head coach positions. I want to know what those conversations look like. I want to know what kind of questions
they're even going to put this in the mix, because everyone who if you try to criticize Kellen Moore online, everyone goes, well, it was the number one offense in the league. Yes, because when Dallas has a lot of talent. Anyways, moving on.
But who would you say is the Cowboys wide receiver one?
It's Amari Cooper. Right now, it's Amari Cooper.
Amari Cooper only had 2 games this entire season where he had over 100 receiving yards.
It's nonsense, isn't it? Am I wrong? That's nonsense.
2. That is disgusting. That is deplorable. And I think one of the games wasn't one of those games with Cooper Rush as quarterback?
No.
Is that
No, one was the Tampa game, and the other one was, I think, against Washington.
Minnesota was on Halloween.
Oh, it was Minnesota.
Halloween game against Minnesota.
Oh, so it was Cooper Rush, and the other one was Tampa.
That was Cooper Rush. Yeah, it did open up the season. How are you not getting your wide receiver one the ball enough where he can get 100 yards?
And I had CeeDee Lamb on fantasy. CeeDee Lamb's another guy who should be getting the ball, and there's times where CeeDee Lamb's not, like this game, this Niners game. Why is CeeDee Lamb not getting the ball? Where was the CeeDee Lamb runs? Where were the CeeDee Lamb
targets?
Runs? Where were the CeeDee Lamb runs? There wasn't any. There was 0 CeeDee Lamb runs. You can use CeeDee Lamb very similar to Debo. I know he's smaller, but you can. We'll get into more of this later. Let's get on to this next game. Steelers versus the Chiefs. Steelers went to Kansas City, got dominated. Patrick Mahomes went for 404 and 5 touchdowns. Again, I second this. This game shouldn't have happened. KC should have a bye. That's all I got.
You know what the funniest part is? Ben Roethlisberger admitted before the weekend that the Steelers were the worst team in the playoffs. He wasn't even expecting to play this weekend. He wasn't expecting to be in the playoffs. They came into this game already defeated. But really, it was a bye week for Kansas City.
Yep.
That's
all I got.
There was a brief moment in time where the Steelers had things going their way. I think it was first quarter. Defensive player of the year favorite TJ Watt's making some plays. He's deflecting a pass that gets intercepted.
The AFC North. This is what I get. I'm sorry, not to interrupt. I will say the AFC North teams, not named the Pittsburgh Steelers, are rejoicing right now. Do you know why?
Oh, they get 2 wins against the Steelers next year?
Yes, because Mason Rudolph is the front runner to be the Steelers quarterback next year.
Yikes. So that's going to be Mike Tomlin's first losing season.
Welcome to Washington football team territory, people.
Oh, man.
Anyways, go ahead. If you have any other notes for this game, I'm on to the next one.
The notes just included we saw some good plays out of TJ Watt early in the game, deflecting a pass that turned into an interception. He scooped up a fumble for a touchdown that gave Pittsburgh a 7-0 lead, only for Kansas City to score 5 unanswered touchdowns within the next 15 minutes.
Yep.
And then Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Great player, great talent, ridiculous numbers. Stop throwing across your body from one sideline to the other.
It's going to get him hurt. It's going to get him hurt. I'm telling you right now.
It's going to lose him the game. That's what it's going to do.
He's going to contort his body at one point, and he's going to wrench his back. And once you get the back stuff, ask Tony Romo, it's over. But
yeah, that's all I got.
On to the game that should have not been played on Monday. The Cardinals went into LA, got trounced by the Rams. The Cardinals offense just wasn't ready for this. The Rams played well on offense, but not spectacular. And yeah, that's all she wrote. Kyler and all of them, good for them. Good for Kingsbury for turning his career around. Good for Kyler for showing that he can play really well. But they were overmatched in this game. They were not prepared for this game. Kyler looked like he didn't know how to play football.
It's crazy when you say that one team was overmatched and not ready to play, considering they play in the same division and they face each other twice a year. I don't know how you're not ready or prepared to play a division rival in the playoffs. I don't get it. But congratulations to Matthew Stafford for getting your first playoff victory. While there were points toward the end of the season where we questioned his consistency, he played extremely well in this game, but he also wasn't asked to do a whole lot. He threw 17 passes, 202 yards,
Scared
2
for Tampa.
touchdowns, no interceptions.
Scared for Tampa with that defense.
Yes. Congrats to Cam Akers on his comeback from the torn Achilles.
Yep.
He was looking good out there, and some of his better plays were actually called back due to penalties. So those ones didn't even show up on the highlight reel, the box score, because they didn't count. And the defense, man, that defense just bullied Kyler Murray all game long. They pushed him into his locker. They stole his lunch money. Arizona was 0 for 9 on third downs. Their shortest third down was 3rd and 6. First 7 possessions of the first half, 5 3-and-outs, 2 interceptions. Neither Kyler Murray nor Cliff Kingsbury could come through in the big moments. They couldn't make any of the necessary adjustments, but that shouldn't be surprising to us because Arizona has somehow suffered second half collapses in each of the past 2 seasons. Last year, they get off to a 6-3 start, only to finish the season 8-8 and miss the playoffs. This season,
they made the playoffs.
It's hard to believe because the Cardinals were looking like the best team in the league at 10-2, and they finished the season 11-6, and they limp into the playoffs. For me, heading into 2022, Cliff Kingsbury is going to be another one of those early candidates for a hot seat.
I don't have him on the hot seat because they've improved every year. I would not have him on the hot seat. They've improved every year.
They've also had second half collapses every year.
I get that, but they didn't really have a collapse here. They still made it into the playoffs. Yes, the playoff game was not good, but they've improved every year. I think he gets next year. If next year is similar, if there's no improvement, then I can see.
I have a strategy for Arizona that's going to work out beautifully. You have co-head coaches. You have Cliff Kingsbury coach the first half of the season.
And then Brian Flores?
Yes.
All right. Next up, we're going to the divisional round, and we're running a little late, so we're going to fly through this. So, first up, we got the Bengals versus the Texans, or Titans. Texans ain't in the playoffs. The Titans. The Titans are favored 3.5. I'm taking the Bengals here. I just don't believe in the Titans. I could see the Titans win, but I'm taking the Bengals.
All right, so we're going to differ right away. The Bengals run defense is going to be a little bit weaker because some of the defensive players are going to be out. They can't, they can't allow Tennessee, who may have Derrick Henry back, to control the ground game. I mean, Derrick Henry's been cleared for contact, and he's trending toward playing on Saturday. But if Cincinnati wants to stay in this game, Zach Taylor needs to unleash Joe Burrow. Be aggressive, call pass plays on first down.
You don't think so?
Get out to an early lead. But, I mean, they got to make it a shootout for Tennessee. I just don't think it's going to happen. I got Tennessee for this one. But I'm not going to be surprised if and when Cincinnati wins.
All right, next up, we got the 49ers traveling to Green Bay to face the Packers. And believe it or not, the last 2 times the Niners have played Green Bay in the playoffs, the Niners have come out victorious, but not this time. This is Aaron Rodgers' middle finger to the league here, and I think he continues it. And I think the Packers beat the Niners convincingly in this one. Even though last time they played the Niners, it was a close game.
Each season is new. Each season is different. But the playoff path that the Packers are potentially looking at is a path of redemption. 2019, they make it to the NFC Championship game, only to lose to San Francisco. Last year, 2020, they make it to the NFC Championship game, only to lose to Tampa Bay. Now, both those teams are still alive in the playoffs. This week, they get the 49ers. Now, I think it's going to be a tougher task than it was earlier in the season when they were playing. The Packers have home field advantage. The Packers
the last game they only won by 2. Or was it? Yeah, by 2.
Yeah. There's a comeback. I think it is, because this San Francisco team is coming in as probably one of the hottest teams. I mean, they're peaking at the right time, making the playoffs. The Packers' offensive line
last week is not a team that can beat Green Bay.
I think it's going to be a different team that shows up. The Packers' offensive line has to be ready for the front four from San Francisco. Now, I'm hoping you're completely right, and I'm hoping I'm right too, because I have Green Bay winning this. I just don't think it's going to be as easy.
All right. This is my question, because this is what this game relies on. Can the Packers stop the Niners' running game? Because that's what defeats the Packers every time. And do you really think there's somebody in the Niners secondary that can stop Devontae Adams, especially when you scheme him open? But I'm not gonna.
Now, not the secondary, but do I think that they can create trouble with the pass rush? San Francisco's been very effective and very successful with only rushing 4 and dropping the other 7 back.
I'm telling you, I don't. What is going on here?
I don't want to be overconfident about this Packer team in the playoffs, because I know what heartbreak is waiting for me year after year in the championship game.
We're moving on.
I am optimistic that they're going to win.
Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are winning this. Okay?
It's going to be 100-0. Yes.
We got the Rams going into Tampa, face those Buccaneers. I'm taking the Rams here. I really am. I don't trust this Bucs team. I know they can play when they want to play. I just don't trust them, and McVay's going to have some trickery along himself. And if Odell plays well, that's where it is. Because, they can try to take Kupp away, but if Odell's playing well, I don't trust it. So, I'm taking
this
the Rams.
This is a rematch from Week 3. Los Angeles Rams beat the Buccaneers 34-24. Now, Kyler Murray wasn't able to attack the Buccaneer weakness, or not the Buccaneer, but the Ram weakness, which is their secondary.
It might not be a weakness this week. They might get these guys back.
They might, but Tampa Bay is also looking at getting Ronald Jones and or Leonard Fournette back this weekend too, so that's going to make a difference.
And?
I know, but you got Tom Brady. It's so hard to say.
I know.
Brady.
I just feel this. But who you taking?
Yeah. It took Matthew Stafford years to get his first playoff victory. Man, I hate picking against Tom Brady, but I think Matthew Stafford will get his second playoff victory.
All right, lastly, we've got the Bills traveling to Kansas City. I think they did this again this early in the year. And I don't think the result is going to be quite the same, but I do have the Bills taking the victory here. Yes, I'm taking 3 out of the 4 road teams this week.
Wow.
So, yes, I have the Bills winning this game. And I believe in this team more. I mean, the Bills' defense has been playing well, especially this last month. And Josh Allen has been... And I know KC has also. But I don't know if they have the horses to really match up. Sean.
Buffalo comes back to Arrowhead, but it's going to be a very different Chiefs squad they're going against. And they're going to be presented with a much greater challenge. The part that concerns me about Josh Allen is that he hardly has back-to-back good passing games. And he just came off a phenomenal day. And I have a feeling he's in for a little bit of a come down on that. So I have got Kansas City winning. It'll be Buffalo's going to experience the same thing they did last year now. They might score more points, but I've got Kansas City winning this. Now, all that said, I would not be surprised if I got all of these picks wrong, because we got the 8 best teams in the playoffs here, I think.
All right, just to briefly touch on, Sean was going to talk about some ref debacle in the Raiders Cincy game. Well, there's multiple ref debacles, but the big one was did they blow the whistle? Did they not blow the whistle on a Joe Burrow touchdown? They also had multiple times where apparently they didn't want to call holding on the Raiders. But we're just going to touch we'll touch on the refs in a greater detail in one of our final episodes, because I mean it's been atrocious throughout the entire league. We are going to end this episode on this note, and my words of wisdom is this: people, we love sports for an escape to reality. Regardless how great your team is and regardless how bad your team is, enjoy it. That's what sports is about, enjoyment. Don't get too caught up in this stuff. Yes, I'm actually very happy to be a Dallas Cowboys fan. I don't care what you say. You can put out all the numbers in the world if you're ESPN. Dallas Cowboys haven't been to an NFC Championship game in 11 times in the playoffs. So what? They've made the playoffs 11 times. And I can get into that. But even if they hadn't, I still get into sports. That's no reason to threaten violence towards a player's family because they did something you didn't like. It's no reason to sit at home depressed all the time. Enjoy the sports while you still have it. Okay? Sean, anything for you?
To piggyback off of that, it is also not okay to throw garbage and debris at the referees either, even though they do a horrible job. They don't deserve to get stuff to get thrown at them. Yikes. Not okay. Not okay in my book.
I know Dak had to issue an apology.
He got caught up in the emotion. Yeah, he was cool with fans throwing stuff at the refs. Yeah.
He said good for them.
Yeah.
He said good for them.
Yeah. Well, that was poor judgment. Don't throw stuff at the refs, even if they're horrible.